In 2010, at the start of the decade, Sheffield Wednesday were in severe financial trouble. When August of that year came around, Wednesday had only 28 days left to pay an outstanding debt of £555,000 before facing administration, which over the decade we've seen many clubs fall victim to. However, in November that year, Milan Mandaric stepped in, purchasing the club for £1, whilst taking on £23 million worth of debt. This is why, up until this day, and perhaps always will, Wednesday fans will be thankful to Mandaric. Because he kept the club alive, he kept the hope alive, and that maybe the fortunes of Sheffield Wednesday would eventually turn around. The 2010-11 season was a dreadful season. It saw us finishing in 15th in League One, and since then it's been a decade of highs and lows. The next season was amazing, Wednesday going up automatically, beating United to the promotion by 3 points. 3 points that we arguably got in a match against them when we beat them by 1-0 in such a tight game, and the jubilation. And then for the team that season to go up automatically with United losing in the playoffs that we put them in, it was the perfect promotion for a Wednesday fan. The next couple of seasons were mid-table championship seasons among talks of potential takeovers. If you can remember Mr. Mammadov pretty much agreeing to buy the club for €50 million, doing everything on paper, having the entire team wear Azerbaijan, the land of fire, were on all the kits like Atletico Madrid did, which makes sense because he owned shares in both them and Porto. It was exciting. There was actual money supposedly coming into Wednesday, but in true Wednesday fashion, it fell through. Didn't really know it was falling through as it was happening, but it did fall through. And it was kind of glum for a while because Mandaric obviously did want to sell, he'd stabilised the club, but he said all along he was only going to sell if the right owner came around. It turned out that that right owner was Chansiri. In the latter stages of that season, talks with Chansiri started and moved relatively quickly, with him buying the club, controversially sacking Stuart Gray, who at the time was, by many fans' estimations, was doing a decent job. He didn't have much, and he was doing quite a lot with that, to appoint a manager that nobody had really heard about in Carlos Carvalhal. That was the 2015-16 season. How little did we know at the time. This was the best season in my lifetime of supporting Wednesday, finishing 6th, having the money to buy decent players, which we didn't do effectively in latter seasons to be fair, but we did get to a playoff final that season. Many Wednesday fans look back on this, to that one goal in a final, and think how different it could be if we had just put in a performance that day. If we'd have just shown in that final what we'd been showing all season, things could look very different as a Wednesday fan right now. Next season wasn't so glum though, it was even better in terms of league positioning, finishing 4th. But once again, Wednesday's playoff performance was shocking, and we lost in one of the cruelest ways, a penalty shootout. Despite that only being a semi-final, many fans see that as the year that it was there for the taking. Wednesday and Fulham were the only decent sides in the playoffs, yet they both crashed out in the semis. That should have been the final, and it really would have been a great final. The couple of seasons after were very poor. It all came to a boil when Steve Bruce left before this current season even kicked off, leaving the club in limbo until Gary Monk came in. Wednesday are doing okay. It's now 2020, it's a new decade. It looks okay, that's all you can really say. But the EFL have been breathing down the necks, and it's genuinely a concerning time. It's hard to tell how the next decade will go, but a lot will be decided by the EFL investigation and the club's financial situation. It could be a very slippery slope. Let's try to think positively. Now the fun bit. The whole point of this video, I'm going to put together what I think Sheffield Wednesday's team of the decade is. So now we can actually get into the grips of the fun part of this video and have a look at the Wednesday team over the decade. It's been an interesting one in terms of players if you consider where we were at the start of last decade, 2010. It wasn't great. We start with a fairly easy one, to be fair. I don't think anyone can really argue with this. The shortlist I had for goalkeepers were Nicky Weaver, Stephen Bywater, Chris Kirkland, Kieran Westwood and Cameron Dawson. They're the goalkeepers that this decade have featured for us in a substantial amount. Personally, it was very hard not to put Stephen Bywater in terms of the promotion and the sentimentality attached to that, but you've just got a hands down. It's easy, this one. It's Kieran Westwood. He joined us in 2014, and in the 2014-15 season, he won the PFA Player of the year for the goalkeeping position. He was arguably the best keeper in the Championship for quite a long time. There was that long debate with Randolph Westwood who was better. I always thought Westwood edged it. He's made 176 appearances for Wednesday. People are saying, is he on his way out? It's looking like it could be that situation in the next few weeks, with it being the January transfer window and him not playing currently. It will be sad to see him go. I do rate him. I think Joss may have killed his career off at Wednesday by taking him out for that long last season. He needed to be playing, and he will go on to be a great keeper still. I think he's got another couple of years in him, but he's got a few mistakes to iron out before he gets back to that, I think, and that's why we've gone with Cameron over Westwood for this season. Now, our fullbacks. This is a one that is quite controversial because, well, I've not made my decision yet. People have said we've not had very good fullbacks over the years. They've often slated people. They've often been our scapegoats. Think Palmer. Think Morgan Fox. Now Palmer's really rated. Now Morgan Fox is really rated. The fullbacks have always got the stick of the team, usually. Shortlisted, I've got Lewis Buxton, Liam Palmer, Joe Mattock, Jeremy Hillan, Morgan Fox, Daniel Pudil, and I was going to say Iorfa, but he's more of a centre-back now, so he's not on there. I had Tommy Spur in there, but he left us in 2011 and didn't really make the cut for the decade here. And I've just realised my decision is going to split this fan base, and a lot of you will disagree with me, but for me, it's Jeremy Hillan at left-back. This is down to my bias of liking left-backs that can attack, get the ball going on. It's really hard not to put Lewis Buxton in this because Lewis Buxton was a servant to the club. But Jeremy Hillan, for me, is the kind of left-back I wanted. He was very hit and miss for quite a while, but in that season where we kicked on, his runs down the left and the fact that he could also be a left midfielder just made him the ideal fullback for me. I think there's an argument now for Morgan Fox to come on and be that left back that we all need. His form is ridiculous at the minute. He's doing really well. However, it's not being consistent. It's towards the end of the decade. I'm going with Jeremy Hillan. He was part of my favourite Wednesday side. Also, you possibly know this. You probably do. But if you don't, he retired for religious reasons. He didn't actually leave us for another club. If you combine his loan spell with the time he was with us from 2012 to 2016 before he retired. He made 128 appearances and he was a good servant for the club. Centre-backs. I have seen some shit centre-backs at Sheffield Wednesday. When I was looking through this shortlist, I was like, God! Not the shortlist that I've put together, but the actual list of players available to me that I could have put in it. Oh, there's a reason we were terrible for a while. So let's have a look at that left side of centre-back. It doesn't really matter because I'm not putting them in their exact order. So at centre-back, I've got Mark Beavers, Reeder Johnson, Rob Jones, Danny Bath, Miguel Liera, Anthony Gardiner. I know you're all thinking, what the hell? Glenn Louvens, Vincent Sasso, Dominic Iorfa, Michael Hector, and Julian Borner. So, not too bad in terms of centre-backs. It's not been dreadful. Also, I forgot to mention on full-backs, we've got Jack Hunt in there. Didn't forget him. He's coming back in for the potential right-back slot. I think this is going to be one of the difficult ones because we've had a lot of terrible centre-backs, but we've also had a lot of ones that have become fan favourites. I can't believe Michael Hector, after one season with us, is on this list, but he is. He got our player of the year in a pretty awful season. He was a shining light. Julian Borner has been with us half a season, and he is a beast. He'll literally just get his face ripped open on the pitch and carry on like nothing happened. People love Danny Bath. Not his biggest fan, but people absolutely idolise him. Mark Beavers, great servant to the club. Many people on this list could get one of those slots, but the first centre-back slot, I've not even mentioned this centre-back yet. It's Tom Lees. It's got to be Tom Lees. He's our current club captain. People say he's on the decline, all that. But if you look at the seasons where he has been on form, he is one of our best pieces of business, assured. I remember when people said there was Everton links, other Premier League links, we were trying to keep hold of him. He has been a rock at the back for us. And yes, he's got a mistake in him. But for the high times of being a Wednesday fan this season, he has been in that centre-back position. It's got to be Tom Lees. And it's pretty obvious where I'm going with the next centre-back position because I've said Tom Lees. Next to him has to be the man Glenn Loovens. The assurance that Loovens gave Lees throughout his time with Wednesday, I genuinely think that's what he has been lacking. He's been lacking that support from a Loovens type figure next to him. It's difficult, especially when you're in such a good centre-back pairing. To go from that to have to get a new centre-back partner, it must be a really difficult task. Glenn Loovens, Tom Lees, just the best centre-back pairing in my lifetime of being a Wednesday fan. I do have to give a special shout out to the centre-backs that got us up from League One. Rob Jones, Danny Bath, the likes. But if we're looking at sheer quality for Wednesday, Loovens and Leaves centre-back pairing. Loovens and Leaves. Apparently my words are still struggling this decade. Okay, right back. Yet again, I don't think I'm being that controversial with anything I'm saying here. Right back is Jack Hunt. It's really, really hard to leave Liam Palmer out of this because I rate him so much, especially the player he's come on to be. This is difficult because I really want to put Liam Palmer here for his servitude to the club. I really rate him, and if I had the choice of now who to have in my team, would it be Jack Hunt or would it be Liam Palmer? It'd be Liam Palmer. No, it's still Jack Hunt, purely because the side he was in, the runs down the right-hand side, the crossovers, the step-overs, the little whip cross. He was an awesome fullback for us. He had some really good seasons with us. I remember when he left us for what, like 1.6 million. We clearly didn't see the value in having him when we had other fullbacks at the club and we brought in other crap, to be honest. I wish we'd have just shipped off some Herbie Emmanuelson. Do you remember him? No, neither do I. But yeah, Jack Hunt deserves that spot at right back. Left of midfield. Right, now this comes into attackers. We're doing a 4-4-2 here, so left mid, right mid, striker, striker. I'm kind of mixing people up because people have played in many different positions and not necessarily on the sides I'm going to put them in this. But it's my team of the decade, I don't care. Left of midfield, I am going to consider from my current shortlist for this position. Oh God, this is the hardest one. The three I'm going to put on the left are Jermaine Johnson, Kadeem Harris and Adam Reach. Now I love Jermaine Johnson. He only seemed to play when the sun came out, but I love Jermaine Johnson. Kadeem Harris is shortlisted purely because he seems quality. I don't even feel comfortable shortlisting, to be fair. I've talked about him, but he does show a spark we've been missing on the wing, but he ain't getting it. It's obviously going to Adam Reach, who scores when he wants. He does play on the right sometimes. Adam Reach is not necessarily a left mid, but he is in this. He scores goals. He shouldn't really score goals. He's our record signing. Record signing. That's the heights of Sheffield Wednesday, boys and girls. But Adam Reach is a talent you want to keep hold of. I saw people slating him. People I respect slating him. And I was like, are you having a laugh? It's just a dip in form. Adam Reach deserves a spot in this team of the decade. He is a quality player, and he has been a quality player for us. Before I do the two central midfielders, let's have a look at that other side now while we're in the conversation because we consider more. I'm going to add into the mix for this one, Mikhail Antonio, Marco Matthias, Ross Wallace, and just because I can, I'm also going to put Chris Maguire in here. He kind of went where he wanted, and it's difficult not to give him the left one as well. He kind of is a strike. He goes everywhere, Chris Maguire. I also used to fill him full of steroids on FIFA, and he was like 94 rated. I've just realised I could put Forestieri on the midfield and then I get my strikers that I want. But I can't do that because I'm not leaving Reach out of this team and I'm not putting him in the centre of midfield. This is difficult. I know a lot of Wednesday fans that I've seen have done this, have give it to a different person, but for me, Mikhail Antonio was everything I want in an attacking player. He scored right in front of me as well to send us up, which was nice. And he's always been destined for the Premier League, and he's a Premier League player now, and he's a good Premier League player. Even though he left us in some circumstances that we didn't want, we wanted him to be, he was like, we're going to go to Forest because they're closer to the Premier League. Yeah, that worked out, but he did get his Premier League move, and I could see why he moved, and I know a lot of fans didn't like him after that. I didn't care. We weren't in a position to be keeping players like that if we were being realistic. We would have been, if he'd have stayed a little bit longer. Mikhail Antonio in that side would have been promotion. Can you imagine him in our actual promotion season? I mean, promotion run season. Didn't happen, did it, boys? Don't really need to go into it much more. I've also realised that rather than me going through all the stats, I'll have put some stats and things on the screen. Makes my life easier. Or I've not, and you can use Google. But Antonio gets that right midfield slot. Right, let's not beat around the bush. Barry Bannon is getting one of the central midfield spots. Without even reading the shortlist, Barry Bannon is the player I would put on this list straight away. He is the best player I have ever seen in a Wednesday shirt. Which is weird, because there's going to be people watching this that have seen a Wednesday team win a League Cup. I was 4 years off being born, friends. But for me, Banner's got everything. He can cross. He can find passes that he shouldn't be able to find. He's agile. He's now getting hair. He is my favourite Wednesday player. He is somebody who is very loyal to the club, because I can't imagine we've not had offers for him as well. Who wouldn't want Barry Bannon? But then again, we possibly have, and Chanzeri has just been like, no, nobody is leaving this. This one speaks for itself. It's Barry Bannon. Next to him, there's quite a selection now. We've got Giles Coke, Chris Sedgwick, Jose Semedo, David Prutton, Chris Lines, Kieran Lee, Ross Barkley, and Sam Hutchinson. Some people will be like, why have you put Barkley in here? He's the only player I've put that's had a very small spell with us. It's because he scored an absolute screamer right in front of me. That's pretty much it. And I've got a programme with a Wednesday player on it that played for England, which is... I know that's real tin pot, isn't it? But, like, that's the heights of my Wednesday lifetime. Thanks, guys. Giles Coke was a servant to the club. He got a lot of stick. Sedgwick, meh. Semedo was a club legend. I still love the man. It's where the chant came from. It's Cristiano Ronaldo's best mate. He's just a dude. David Prutton, he was decent. Now he's on Sky, talking about Leeds all the time. Chris Lines, another servant, still rate him. Kieran Lee speaks for himself. Absolute quality midfielder, possibly on the decline now, unfortunately. And Sam Hutchinson, he is such a success story in terms of coming back from an awful injury, the mental health journey he's been through as well. He's just a really, really good dude in terms of what we've seen anyway. You never know someone behind closed doors. But as a representative for Sheffield Wednesday, it's really hard to not give this to Sam Hutchinson. He would be my second choice for this, but it's got to go to Jose Semedo. He is a brick wall in that midfield. As a defensive midfielder, for the time, we couldn't have asked for much more. And he bled blue and white, and that's a very cringy, corny thing to say. I'm going to try and get rid of these cliches, because let's be honest, we're all adult men talking shit. And females. I do have a small percentage of females watching this. Thank you, women who watch my channel. But Jose Semedo deserves that spot next to Barry Bannon. Attackers. That leaves me with quite a lot now. So strikers, we've got Clinton Morrison, Marcus Tudgay, Gary Medine, Neil Mellor, Connor Wickham, Leroy Lita, because that's another weird one, but I just like the chant a lot. Ati Nuiu, you all love him. You could put Chris Maguire in this, but we won't because he's not getting it, let's be honest. Gary Hooper, Lucas Zhao, because when he was on his day, he was great. That day happened like once every 365. And Stephen Fletcher rounds off the lists for strikers. Now, we've never had goals aplenty. I can't believe Jordan Rhodes is currently playing for Sheffield Wednesday and he doesn't make this list because he's not played like he should for us. It's quite heartbreaking, that, actually. But without a shadow of a doubt, one of the spots is going to Fernando Forestieri. You could put him up there with Bannon for best player in a Wednesday shirt I've ever seen. He's just got absolute flair. When he turns up, he's arguably like top 3 best creative players in the Championship. He's just not turned up for quite a while. He's currently injured. We don't know what's going on with him. He should be in the prime of his career now, so we'll see what happens. He's obviously on a big wage. I don't know if he's got a future at Wednesday, but I really wanted to come back on and fire us some goals because a fully fit, creative Forestieri in this side will possibly help us from impending doom. So please, Forestieri, get back on the pitch and start scoring some goals. I'm going to do substitutes as well, but we've currently got one more spot in the starting 11 for this. And I think... it's got to go to Atinuit now. No, I love him, but it's not happening. This is a really hard one between Connor Wickham and Marcus Tudgay and Gary Hooper. I loved Connor Wickham on his loan spells. And for the quality of the time, he was a shining light in the team. Tudgay was a great player, but Gary Hooper gets the slot because Gary Hooper was just something else. He was a proper poacher, and I don't think we should have released him. I understand why we did with the injury record. He was out for so long, but Gary Hooper has got to get a place in this team. Just looking at this team now, like, if we played that tomorrow, maybe take Semedo out of it, you'd boss the Championship with that side. Okay, so the first person on my subs bench is going to be Chris Kirkland. It was actually really hard not to give him this because Chris Kirkland, I think we forget how good he was when he got good. He was a very good player for us in net. Gonna put Liam Palmer on there as well. Deserves a place. He was really unlucky to miss out in the team. Same with Daniel Pudil. He needs a spot on there because he was quality for us. He at least deserves a spot on the bench. In midfield, I'm gonna put Kieran Lee and Sam Hutchinson just to give us some of that midfield power. We've got the powerhouse in Hutchinson that can come on and Lee that can come on and change a game. And for attacking players, I'm going to put Jermaine Johnson. And this is a difficult one, this last spot on the bench. Who makes it into the team? It's got to be Marcus Tudgay. So Jermaine Johnson and Marcus Tudgay finish out the bench there. Our starting 11 for the Sheffield Wednesday team of the decade are Westwood, Halan, Lees, Louvens, Hunt, Reach, Bannon, Semedo, Antonio, Forestieri, Gary Hooper, with a substitutes bench consisting of Kirkland, Palmer, Pudil, Lee, Hutchinson, Johnson and Tudgay. That wouldn't be a bad side in the Championship. Obviously, we've not had the best decade, but we have had some decent players that have come through. Bit of sentimentality in that, with a mixture of quality. Managing that team for me, without a shadow of a doubt, is Carlos. He is my favourite manager we have had. Steve Bruce, you could have been so much more. But Carlos got the best out of the sides. We saw it with Jos. People were saying, well, Carlos hasn't done anything. He really had. He'd done a lot. Obviously, the fitness sides weren't great. Even though he was the first manager with money to spend, we saw when another manager came in, he probably had the same sort of situation and he was terrible with the same players, so there was that. I'm really intrigued, guys, to know what your Sheffield Wednesday team of the decade is. This video's taken a little while to make with all the research, things like that, so if you could leave a like on the video, I would appreciate it in this instance, because I haven't made a video for a while either. I've been doing many things, but it'll let me know that you like that I'm back from the dead and we are making videos again. Sheffield Wednesday team of the decade, fun little video to do. Drop yours in the comment sections, but for now, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, do all those things, and keep watching right here on Dexteritybox.